bickety bam. Status report. Dali's
BTS
favorite
report
of 2023. So this was the kind of year that I worked an insane amount of time for my office, just like 16, 17-hour days, 4 to 5 days a week, losing weekends, travel. Did not have a chance to sit down and play on big screen. That's why I was very bummed I didn't get to jump into like Spider-Man or
Don't need to.
some of the other ones. Well,
you're good, man.
No, I mean,
I'm just kidding.
Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 16, couldn't play any of those because they're tied to my PS5 or games on the Xbox, which are difficult for me to play on the big screen. So I decided to set this up as sort of a business style presentation because I've been doing a bajillion PowerPoints this year, and it sucks when life gets in the way of enjoying life. So let me start. Overview. I expected us to do this Game Award show on the 27th of December. That's when we were first kind of chatting about it. None of you assholes ended up. And see, I already fucked it up. It should be January 1st, 2024, revised, not December. But yeah, couldn't get everybody together. Everybody was tired or busy. But I did actually play enough games to actually have a list, actually. And the biggest risk for me, of course, was falling asleep before the show. There was a football game, so I did not. Anyways, here's how my year planned out. January 1st, I'm going to clean up this backlog. I'm going to clear out one game a month. January 20th,
mentioned.
Yeah. January 20th, played my first new release of the year, Fire Emblem Engage. May 11th, tracking way ahead of schedule on my backlog clearance. I'm like, shit, I've got like 6.5, 7 games done on my backlog. I'm RPGs, stuff was getting knocked out. I was really excited. Then May 12th, that backlog collapsed. I'm going to try again in 2024 because we all know what game showed up on May 12th. And then from mostly December, from the 6th, which was, I think, the day that I took off for the Game Awards, or I landed, whatever, until the 27th, because I thought that was going to be the date that we were going to do the show. I shotgunned a bunch of games on Game Pass to try to make these quick snap decisions. What can I play to flush out my gaming? So then I thought, okay, I've got to figure out how to put this presentation together. So on the 22nd, I have this great idea for this presentation. It's going to be awesome. On the 23rd, Christmas starts to get in the way, so I had to kind of take a step back. So on the 27th, since nobody was replying back to me, I'm like, okay, I'm going to replan it. I'm going to make it even bigger. So I was like, video clips, animation, all kinds of shit. On the 30th, I'm like, okay, now I'm really going to start it. For real, I'm going to start it. And then today at 8:52 p.m., when the football game ended, I'm like, oh shit, I've got to put this presentation together. So I did it in like the 8.5 minutes, which is why we started like a minute late. Which goes to show you I'm really phenomenal at throwing together PowerPoint presentations. So PAX East, it's going to be awesome. So with that, my opening remarks. This is how I'm starting today's meeting. Games that I wish I played. Alan Wake 2, Venbus, Phantom Liberty, Pizza Tower. I told you Pizza Tower was going to be on it. Cocoon, Remake, Dredge, Spider-Man 2, El Paso, elsewhere. All these games I wanted to play. Just didn't have time, money. I was trying to cut down on money.
You can drop one of those off your list.
Yeah, I know, Dredge. And so I thought, unfortunately, but I'm going to get into these eventually. They're still on my to-try list. Games that I need to play more of that I already have started playing. Final Fantasy 16, Forza Motorsport, thank you, Game Pass. Hi-Fi Rush, fantastic. Starfield, Fire Emblem Engage. But none of these games I played enough to get an opinion beyond liking all of these. That's it.
You don't have to finish. You don't have to finich Starfield. You're done.
Yeah, I don't think they finished Starfield. Ports and remasters that were great. Metroid Prime Remastered could very well be the game of the year. Any other year, Metroid Prime Remastered could be the game. It's that fantastic of a remaster of an already phenomenal game. Yeah, it came out like January, beginning of February.
Yeah.
Yes, you are late. We know, but just in time for all the good stuff. Haunted House, That the Atari 2600 game.
Yeah.
The remake was surprisingly good. Vampire Survivors on Switch is now my favorite version because it is so perfect for that form factor. It was great. It was phenomenal for Steam Deck, right? But
Yeah.
the Switch, because it's a little bit thinner, it just feels great. You know, the great job on porting that over. Obviously, Lisa was fantastic. Thank you, Zach, for recommending that. And then I got the review code and loved it.
It's one of the best
Dead
games
Space Remastered.
ever made.
Yeah, Dead Space Remastered.
I don't think Dead Space is a remaster because that's a whole ass game, man. That's
Yeah, that's what they're calling them. They're calling it remaster. And then Super Mario RPG Remake, which is fine, but it's good enough. I just thought it was bare bones, but whatever. But it was okay. Of a good game. Honorable mentions: Cassette Beasts. Really enjoyed Cassette Beasts. That was a really neat game. The Expanse Telltale series. As a huge fan of The Expanse, I really enjoyed that being able to go back into that world because they had to kind of stop the show well ahead of where the books were because of Amazon. Dave the Diver, I really wish I played more of that. I got the review code for that, so I've been just here and there. Octopath Traveler 2 really just started that 3 days ago, and I freaking love it. I started it way back when, and I did the demo, I think, for this, and then I've just finally started it all over again. I'm like, yeah, this is phenomenal. Tents and Trees and Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Tents and Trees is the game that just keeps on giving. It's perfect on an airplane. Super Mario Brothers Wonder is horrible on an airplane because you're constantly wanting to throw your Switch around, but still a pretty phenomenal platform game. But not my favorite Mario platformer by far. But it's still really good. Go ahead, JJ.
I would say Mario Wonder has the final Bowser boss fight's really fucking good.
Not there yet.
Yeah. It's clever.
I actually liked New Super Mario Deluxe's Bowser fight. I thought that was actually really well done. But so far, Mario Wonder, like I said, it feels like a 3D Mario game on a 2D viewpoint. But it's great. It's a great game. It's just and that's totally cool. It's just I want more classic Mario with my 2D Mario. I want specific types of jumps, and this has a little bit more of the 3D world or the open world Odyssey type of stuff, which is it's great. It's not, and I think that's why it hasn't sold.
They're getting so close to bringing me back. So we're getting so close.
Yep. This is like if they remade Mario World from the ground up today is what Mario Wonder is. And I think that's fine, but
that's not good. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing.
Anyway,
because World's so good.
I think exactly. It's my favorite Mario, and I think that's why Mario Maker was so good. I think we were spoiled by it because when you limit yourself to the amount of tools you can use, you get crazy with ideas. You're like, I've got a whiteboard concept stuff, and downloading those games and playing those worlds on Mario Maker 2 was so awesome. Even Mario Maker 1 was some of that stuff. Anyways, let's get into the actual games. I have 5 games, no particular order, and then I'll reveal my game of the year. But each of these 5 games were specifically chosen for a specific reason, specifically. First one, the game that made me feel smart after Teams meetings made me feel stupid. I'm in Teams meetings all the time, and when people are just yelling at you and they're asking questions that you don't know the answer to, you need something to. This game made me feel as if I was figuring shit out on my own and the smartest person in the room, and that was Chance of Sinar.
I enjoyed on my list to play too.
I enjoyed the aesthetic of this, which is fine. The controls are a little bit iffy. The aesthetic's okay. But the overall premise and what this game does and getting you to I scribbled notes on they had, like I mentioned, there was the in-game book that you can keep track of and add words to. But I found myself scribbling on a piece of paper and sticky notes all over my table whenever I was playing something, when I was playing the game and keeping track of stuff. And that made me feel like I was an archaeologist, because it's like the whole Tower of Babel idea of language. It's just so good for that reason. I think it instills in you this sort of confidence that you're better at solving things than just button mashing your way like through Street Fighter 6. So that, and I'm just kidding. So that's why I like this game a lot. Best game to play when stuck in said Teams meetings. Suika gaming, dude. Just this game took over my household to the point where even my wife was sucked into this game playing it. That's very, very rare. Obviously, it came out earlier in the year. You could play it for free online on websites, and all the kids are playing it on websites. But this is the actual version you want to play as a Switch version because it's
all of the anime girls on YouTube are playing.
They're all playing. Yep. Of course, you would know that, JJ. But no, this is just video game. This is game. Like, you don't need to understand. You don't need to know. Like, this could have been all in a completely different language, like chances are, but you can play it. And I think there's something so good about this that
this is 100% the game that you would have like gotten on your Game Boy and would have exploded the batteries with. It's
If this game launched on I love video games. If this game launched on Game Boy when Game Boy launched, it would have been bigger than Tetris, like in a stupid weird way. Like it's that kind of just time sucking, mindless game that I think is so good. The game that charmed me the most when I needed it the most. And what I say by that is, I've had so many ups and downs this year within the industry, and there's times where you're just like, God, I need good news. I need something to make me smile, something to take away just all this crap that we're seeing all over the place. And that was Pikmin 4. And Pikmin 4 is...
I forgot this game even came out.
Jesus.
That kind of year. This is a phenomenal...
They didn't even touch this game.
This is a phenomenal game. I freaking love this game so much. I can't recommend this enough. If you have a Switch, you have to get Pikmin 4. Like, it's just one of those things that they've gotten rid of the timer. There's still a timer, but not like in the olden days. So they got rid of that. The underground stuff is fantastic. The tunnels, there's like a dungeon-ish aesthetic, and the idea that you feel heartbroken when one of your stupid little Pikmin dies in a puddle. Like if a red Pikmin dies in a puddle, you're just like, oh man, the little ghost goes up, and oh man. But then you get revenge when you send a whole bunch of these little effers at like one of the little anteater dudes. So just great. Just love this game so much. And I gotta play. I haven't finished it, but I'm gonna get back into it again. The RPG that pushed all of my nostalgia buttons. Like I mentioned Octopath Traveler. I mentioned my love of being 12, 13, 14, 15 years old again in the 90s, because video games are so pure. Back then, it really was make the best art that you can on like 8-bit and 16-bit platforms. You don't need to do these big, giant cinematic CGI scenes. It's just focus on the good and goodness of a game. And the RPGs of that era were like Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy IV, Lufia, Dragon Quest, like all those games of that era, Phantasy Star, they all hold a special place in my heart. So Sea of Stars, like I really just started playing this recently too. Like I had my eye on it the whole last like 2 years since it
I
was
forgot to
out.
put it on my list. It should be on there. So
yeah. And it's just that it was funny because I didn't start playing it until after Taylor started talking about it on the show back in like September. And then you talked about, I think the week right after that, Zach, and talking about all the cool things that you could do. Like we spent like 40 minutes of the 45-minute conversation on that stupid board game that's in the game.
Dude, it's so good.
And that got me in. I'm like, this is what classic turn-based RPGs aren't just, I mean, yeah, it's linear and that's fine, but it's those little things that you can do in the game that you can get sucked into that are just gem. It's like in Dragon Quest, I would just go play in the casino. The game was already like, nobody could stop me in a Dragon Quest. Like within the game, I could destroy every enemy, but I would just spend money in the casino playing the stupid. Can I just get more money in the casino? Sure. Board games, the card game in Final Fantasy. Sea of Stars has that in a bunch of different areas. And just really a fantastic story to go along with it. Like you said, it's linear. You got the two characters that kind of kick off the game. Lovely artwork. Just freaking loved it.
It also respects your time, which I
Yes.
really like.
Yes.
Like, there's no need to grind. There's no
Yep.
like extra like thought behind it. Like, yeah, the fights you actually have to pay attention, and there's things you need to do, so it's more engaging than like traditional JRPG. But it's like it respects you, and it also allows itself to be played around with, which I really like too. And the story is wonderful. It's mature. It's very, very good video game.
It really is. It really is. And then the game that arrived at the right time when I joke because I go back to that my backlog was rocking along, and then May hit. Well, May I got on this project at the same time, and throughout the rest of the year, this project and other things that were happening in life, work, personal, social stuff, I was getting beat down and beat down and beat down. Financial woes, health, beat down and beat down, to the point where I very near had another nervous breakdown this year. I had one last year, another one this year, could have pushed me over the edge. And I felt like there's times when you could feel like, shit, I'm worthless. Like, am I doing anything that other people value? Well, one game made me feel like I was doing things that other people value. And I brought this up before, and that's Tears of the Kingdom. I felt like I would get beat down through the rest of the day, working, everything else I had to do. And then at nighttime from 11 o'clock until 2 a.m., I was in Hyrule, and I was helping fend off a cave of monsters, or I was running errands to get fruit for someone, or I was, helping scout something, or I was leading teams down in the depths or whatever. And whenever I put the game down, I have 100+ hours into it. I've completed it. The story is fine. Yeah, there's things out of order. There's obviously issues with it, but when I was away from the game, I felt that I was letting down people. Like, I'm the only person that can help Hyrule in this situation. Breath of the Wild was kind of like that, but more smaller, because people didn't really that was built into the plot. In this, it was really kind of self-made. They let you experience this aspect on your own. You could have gone right through the game and pulled a Zack and got the best armor that you could fly around everywhere. And you could land on the ground at 150 miles an hour and not die, or you could do a Dali and try to help everybody, even though some of these things were repetitive. Like, you could solve it, and it's like, okay, well, we got to start again because now they're in another area, which you already did. And I go there, help them again, whatever, the little monster hunter dudes. And that made me feel like my time was valuable to them, to the characters in this game. Was I overpowered? Yeah. I think the way you get overpowered in both Breath of the Wild and this is by playing the game in your own way. Like, you don't need the best armor. I cheesed my way through Breath of the Wild and through this game by actually just playing the game and using all the systems within the game. I beat the final boss with the stupid HP thing without realizing. I thought I was doing something wrong. I was not. I was doing something that I was doing it in my own way, and I was able to accomplish certain goals. And it happens all over in this game, which is why I loved it so much. And I think, like I said, it came at the right time. And even though I played it only religiously daily for 3 months, it still kind of stuck with me. But there's also recency bias, right? Like, this game came out in May. Newer games we can get sucked into tend to grab a lot of the game of the year stuff. So my favorite game of 2023, those 5, all those other ones, it is Zelda. It's still Zelda. I just wanted to the stuff that this game made me, again, the stuff it made me feel as a person, like in a personal, emotional level, I hadn't had that in a long time, and I really needed it this year. If my year, so many of my gaming lifestyle is linked to memories. Like, this game is important to me. Zelda is important to me because of certain things. And Zach, you've mentioned a lot of similar things. Donkey Kong is important to me because that was the first game I ever played with my father. Like, my dad and I he never plays video games. He'll play Wii Sports now, whatever. But the first game he ever played with me was Donkey Kong. By the way, Donkey Kong on the Atari 2600, which is ass. That game sucks balls. But because I played with my dad, and that was the first game, and here I am, Dali's holding this little controller, and my dad's like, "You gotta push the button there." That stuff sticks with you, and those things can be formative. And Zelda games have been formative for me on certain occasions, but this one, especially right now, was like shit. Breath of the Wild was great for me because I played it in 2020 in COVID when I couldn't leave the house, and that gave me this whole big world to play in when I finally finished it. But Tears of the Kingdom, for a whole different reason, hit right, and I totally know there are issues, and I'm fine that there are issues, but
Tears of the
I was
Kingdom,
able to do it.
And a major a problem that it's always going to have with people is because of the way it's structured is that it's going to be really easy just to ruin the game for yourself.
Totally.
Just by playing it your way, and maybe your way is going to
things out of order,
sequence breaking the hell out of it or something. For someone like me, I didn't really particularly sequence break, but I am playing it my own way, so it was a relatively smooth experience for me all the way through. So I experienced all four of us probably experienced the game in completely different ways. I mean, clearly I experienced it way different than Zach did.
I still remember talking to Taylor about when the game first released. Taylor and I were having this conversation, and he's telling me all the stuff he's doing, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I have no idea where you are in the game. And he had played less hours than I have. I'm like a completely different aspect because I went and opened up the majority of the towers right away, had a totally different path and experience in the game, and I think there's something cool to that.
And the weirdest part was that we both did that. That's also what I did.
Yeah,
it's just that you open different ones.
Open different ones, and it was, again, it's just kind of let me create my story, and how I interacted with these people, and I think that to me was well, and I don't even to this day, I haven't talked to people about how I solved certain things within the game because I feel like they didn't solve it the same way, and
they don't deserve your knowledge.
Well, they're going to think I solved it wrong. I'm going to feel like I solved it wrong because I didn't solve it their way.
Or they're just going to explain a part of the game, and you're going to have no idea what the fuck they're talking about.
And that's totally fine.
But then all of a sudden, you'll think about it later, and it's like, oh wait, it was that part. Oh, I handled it from a
totally.
Yeah, so I think the best example of this, there's a shrine in the game that has a lever that you hit, and it gives you a bunch of stuff, and the goal is to hit a ball into a target that's off of the platform. I don't know how anyone else did it except the way that I did it, but obviously there's a billion other ways to do it. But what I did was make a baseball bat on the lever, and then I created a ramp on the side for it to bounce off. But I watched a video of a guy do it in a completely opposite way.
I didn't do it that way.
I know exactly which one you're talking about, and you sent me this video. He shoots it with a bomb arrow.
Yeah,
and for whatever reason, he just ignores the entire mechanic of the whole shrine.
Yeah,
doesn't do the fucking bat. Doesn't use the ball in the thing. Just shoots a bomb arrow, and it for whatever reason it activates the target, and then he clears it.
I did for me it was something completely different than that too. I ended up I didn't know what that stupid peg was in the middle. I'm like, what is this thing? Do I hit it? I couldn't hit it. I didn't know what to fucking do with it. Not knowing that I have to attach something to it and make a bat or whatever. I lifted this ball up. I lifted that steel ball and attached it to something else. I forget what it was. And then I hit that thing and swung it around. And I kept trying to hit this ball, and I'd hit it at the right time and it would bounce up, and I'd attach. It was just so weird, convoluted, but I did it. I'm like, shit, I solved this. And then I'm seeing I casually was how did other people solve this, or how was the IGN or whoever supposed to solve? I'm like, I did not I didn't even know that was possible. I could attach this I can make a baseball bat. What the fuck? So for all those reasons, but just for me the biggest one was the fact that I felt like I had purpose, and it felt great because these people didn't seem to care about Link anymore. They're like, oh yeah, I kind of remember Link a little bit.
Yeah, I'm glad he's around to use the Master Sword and stuff.
Yeah, but I got my own shit going on. I got to rebuild this town, and you can even you'll rebuild a town, and people still don't really know you're Link. They're just oh, some dude came over and helped us out. I'm like, oh, it's fucking cool. I kind of like that it's and I think that was, Miyamoto when he first created the game. It was meant to be this faceless, nameless hero, which is a reason he doesn't talk, is so that you put yourself into it. That's what this does. This does that from, this is so close to that original Legend of Zelda, more so than any other Zelda game that I think really, really hits that. So anyways, that's why I loved it. That's why this was my favorite game of the year. And did
you do the Terrytown, like the continuation, like quest
after you do the rebuild, or is that the one?
Like after you see, so in the first game there's that Terrytown, there's that couple, they get together, and then they have a kid. Did you do that continuation?
Not in the first game. I didn't do it in the first game.
Well, did you do it in this one where you get to see like what happens?
Yeah,
afterwards?
Yeah,
that was like a really heartfelt, sweet, and beautiful story of them like sending their daughter off and like her like not wanting to leave. And
I'm sorry, you're talking about the Terrytown. Got it. We're near where your house is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I get it.
Yeah. There's a story where like it's about the Gerudo, like how like the girls need to go off and be away from their like parents for like a decade or something to like experience life. And it's like just like learning about the different societies and like things was really interesting to me. Like I really loved that quest a lot.
Yeah, same.
That the story was just beautiful. I think that's like the highlight of the game to me, is that little singular thing.
And you're like, and you're curious about what's happening to her. Like the whole time you're like, wow, I wonder if she's like, is she succeeding over in in other place in the Gerudo town? Is she like doing what she needs to do? So it's so cool. I think
it gives you an emotional connection to something that you normally wouldn't care about, really, which I think is really like smart. I wish they did that for the other areas, but
sure. Oh, totally.
That one part is like, oh, like I care about the Gerudo now, which is not something I cared about before.
I hated them. I always hated going to their town. It's like, okay, they all hate me. I'm literally just give me whatever whatever thing I need to get from you guys, whatever piece of the Triforce I need from you, and let me move on. But now it actually felt like a connection to the Gerudo. I'm like, okay, I'm curious. And then you go to the Gerudo and they're all starting to like open their eyes a little bit to having other, like that dude was in the jail cell the whole time because he loves his wife there, and they're keeping him locked up, and she's this little sex slave or whatever. But it's just so wild. But anyways, Legend of Zelda. Thank you. Those are my picks.